Imagine for a moment that every major city you know, New York, London, Tokyo, Paris, simply ceased to exist within the span of a single generation. Not through a slow decline or a steady migration, but through a violent, synchronized erasure. The lights go out, the supply chains snap, and in the much of Mycenaean Greece, writing disappeared for centuries. To us, this sounds like the plot of a post-apocalyptic film, but 3,000 years ago, this actually happened. It remains the greatest mystery in the story of our species. It was a time when the world was more connected, more sophisticated, and more prosperous than it would be again for a millennium, right up until the moment it all turned to ash. The year is 1200 BC. If you were to walk the streets of a city like Mycenae or Ugarit, you wouldn't see a primitive world. You would see a globalized superpower. In the east, the mighty Hittites controlled the rugged highlands of Turkey. To the south, Egypt was at the height of its new kingdom splendor under the pharaohs. Across the sea, the Greeks were building massive stone citadels and recording their tax tallies on clay tablets. These civilizations weren't just neighbors. They were partners in a complex, delicate web of international trade. They traded gold from Egypt, silver from the Aegean, and most importantly, the ingredients for bronze. Bronze was the silicon chip of the ancient world. To make it, you needed copper from Cyprus and tin from as far away as Afghanistan. Without this trade, the wheels of the world stopped turning. But then, within the span of a few decades, this entire structure shattered. By 1177 BC, the Hittite Empire was gone. The Mycenaean palaces were burned out shells. The great city of Ugarit, a hub of global commerce, was a graveyard of rubble. Even Egypt, the last titan standing, was left a shadow of its former self, its borders crumbling, and its treasury empty. For decades, archaeologists stared at the burn layer in the soil, a thick, black line of charcoal, found at almost every major site from Greece to Gaza. They searched for a villain, a single catastrophic event to explain the carnage. They found hints of a mysterious group of invaders known only as the Sea People, a faceless, marauding horde that seemed to emerge from the mist to dismantle an entire world. But history is rarely as simple as a single invasion. When we look closer at the evidence left behind, we see a story that is far more haunting and far more relevant to our own time. In the ruins of Ugarit, archaeologists found a clay tablet that had been baked hard by the very fires that destroyed the city. It was a desperate letter from the king, pleading for help that never came. The letter describes a world where the grain has failed, where the fields are parched, and where the enemy ships are already on the horizon. This wasn't just a war. It was a systemic collapse. Recent scientific analysis of ancient pollen and cave stalagmites has revealed a devastating truth. A 300-year mega-drought had gripped the Mediterranean. As the rains vanished, the harvest failed. As the harvest failed, the people grew hungry. When people are hungry, they move. The Sea People weren't just conquerors. They were likely refugees, victims of the same climate disaster that was starving the empires they were attacking. A domino effect was triggered, where one failing kingdom pushed into the next, creating a wave of chaos that no army could stop. But the most surprising discovery in this tragedy isn't the drought or the invaders. It's the realization that these civilizations were actually too successful. They had become so specialized and so interconnected that they had lost their resilience. They were hyper-complex. Every kingdom relied on the others for the very materials they needed to survive. Think of it like a house of cards, where every card is leaning on another. If the Egyptian card slips because of a famine, the Hittite card falls because it loses its trade partner. When the Hittites fall, the Greeks lose their market for olive oil and wine. Suddenly, the entire structure doesn't just lean, it implodes. The very thing that made them powerful, their globalized economy, became their fatal flaw. The implication for us is staggering. We often think of progress as a one-way street, an inevitable climb toward greater technology and stability. But the Bronze Age collapse proves that civilization is a fragile skin stretched over a volatile core. When the systems that sustain us, food, trade, and climate, begin to fail simultaneously, the descent into darkness can be breathtakingly fast. When the Bronze Age ended, the survivors didn't just lose their gold and their palaces, they lost the ability to write. They forgot how to build with large stones. For 4 centuries, the Mediterranean fell into a deep, silent sleep. The stories of the great kings were distorted into myths and legends, becoming the foundation for Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, tales of a lost age of heroes that the people of the Iron Age could barely believe was real. As we look at our own interconnected world, with our global supply chains and our shifting climates, the ruins of the Bronze Age serve as a quiet, somber mirror. They remind us that the height of our sophistication is not a shield against the laws of nature. We are not the first to believe we were too big to fail, and we are not the first to find out how quickly the silence can return. The story of the Bronze Age collapse isn't just a record of what happened 3,000 years ago. It is a testament to the fact that peace and prosperity are not the default state of human existence. They are a delicate balance we must fight to maintain every single day. The ash in the soil is still there, beneath our feet, waiting to tell its story to anyone willing to listen.